I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. It turned out that during the next 5 years of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened. It turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened. Was replaced by the lightness, the heaviness of being successful. I didn't see it replaced by the lightness. It turned out being a beginner again. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could ever happen. It turned out that getting fired, the heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness, the heaviness of being a beginner. It made an impression on me, and since then, for the past 33 years, I have looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, what I want to do. It made an impression on me, and since then, for the past 33 years, I have looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, 33 years, if today were the last day of my life, it made an impression on me, and since then, for the past, it made an impression on me. I've looked, and since then, for the past 33 years, today, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, it made an impression on me. I've looked, and since then, for the past, it made an impression on me. I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, it made an impression on me. And since then, for the past, it made an impression on me. I've looked, and since then, for the past 3 years, today I will last year every morning and ask myself, if today made an impression on me. It made an impression on me. I've looked, and since then, for the past, it made an impression on me. I've looked, and since then, for the past 3 years, today I will last year every morning and ask myself, it made an impression on me. I've looked, and since then, for the past, it made an impression on me. I've looked, and since then, for the past 3 years, today I will last year every morning and ask myself, it made an impression on me. It made an impression on me. I've looked, and since then, for the past, it made an impression on me. I make sure everything's buttoned up so that you're easy to talk to. It made an impression on me. I've looked, and since then, for the past, I lived with that diagnosis all day. Later that evening, someday, not too long from now, you will gradually limited. So don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know, what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. When I was young, there was an amazing publication called the Whole Earth Catalog, which was one of the Bibles of my generation. It was created by a fellow named Stuart Brand, not far from here in Menlo Park, and he brought it to life with his poetic touch. This was in the late 60s, before personal computers and desktop publishing, so it was all made with typewriters, scissors, and Polaroid cameras. It was sort of like Google in paperback form 35 years before Google came along. It was idealistic, overflowing with neat tools and great notions. Stuart and his team put out several issues of the Whole Earth Catalog, and then, when it had run its course, they put out a final issue. It was the mid-1970s, and I was your age. On the back cover of their final issue was a photograph of an early morning country road, the kind you might find yourself hitchhiking on if you were so adventurous. Beneath it were the words, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." It was their farewell message as they signed off. Stay hungry, stay foolish. And I have always wished that for myself. And now, as you graduate to begin anew, I wish that for you. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Thank you all very much.
Beware of vision, dream, and passion killers. Family and friends, in most cases, sad to even say this, family and friends in most cases will be the first to try and talk you out of something that you're passionate, excited about, and that you have a vision for. Most of the people that have no dreams will wake up every day trying to talk you out of your dreams. They have no goals. They have nothing that they're ambitious about.
Create your own reality by choosing your future. And not only is it important for you to know it's possible for you to choose your future, but it's necessary that you work on yourself, that you develop yourself. It's necessary that you get the energy drainers out of your life, people who don't want anything.
The most powerful motivational speeches that I have ever heard came from people who told me I couldn't do something. You know why? Because when they told me I couldn't do it, I was bound and determined to show them that I could. Tell me I can't do it. I will prove you wrong. I will show you that you're mistaken, because I believe, and this is real important, I can't, will thwart you, will stop you, will slow you down, will turn you around and cause you to move backwards if you let it. But if you have the proper mindset, I can't will do nothing but make you that more determined to get to your goal.
One problem, the violin. Because to do what you do, you've got to be a world-class violinist. Because if you don't, when you're moving around and being thrown around and still trying to play, you end up doing what you did, and that's missing loads of notes. And there were times when it sounded to me like a bunch of rats being strangled. Seriously, that bad. But you're not good enough, I don't think, to get away with flying through the air and trying to play the violin at the same time.
I don't think what you're doing right now is enough to fill a theater in Vegas.
That much movement made you not as great as you were. Made you not as great as you were.
Who's got the right to stop you? I mean, maybe some of you guys got something you never finished, something you really want to do, something you never said to somebody, something. And you're told no, even after you pay your dues. Who's got the right to tell you that? Who? Nobody. It's your right to listen to your gut. It ain't nobody's right to say no after you earn the right to be where you want to be and do what you want to do.
people who discourage us. You know the people that you have in your life who, no matter how good of a day you're having, they'll bring you down. Or no matter how bad of a day you're having, they'll bring you even lower. You know what I'm talking about? Think of the 3 biggest discouragers in your life. They're not your biggest discouragers. You are.
Dear candidate, thank you for your application to our ballet academy. Unfortunately, you have not been accepted. You lack the right feet, Achilles tendons, turnout, torso length, and bust. You have the wrong body for ballet, and at 13, you are too old to be considered.
So you don't think you can? You don't think you can do it? Think again. No, you can. If you haven't done it, keep striving. Keep working. Don't let up. Things don't come easy. You gotta find it, whatever it is, within yourself. Don't quit. Don't quit. Don't quit.
So, just because you fail doesn't mean you're a failure, all right? So I just need you to do me a huge favor, and I just need you to keep going, try to make that one different decision that you've not made before. And then my last one is don't let the distractions distract you. I know. The distractions distract you. Failure is not an option. When you go into it, I want you to go into everything you do, listen to me, as if failure is not an option. All right? It's not a button. It's not a label. It does not exist. You can do it.
Don't let nobody steal your dream. I used to ask myself, can I do this? And something said within me, you're the one. You're the one.
If you want to be great, not good, not also grand, not second, not third, if you want to be great, the very best at what you do, obsession is a necessity. Once you have that magnificent obsession, once you question impossible, the 2 keys, then when somebody like that tells you you can't do something, you have chosen the wrong one to tell something like that to. I will show you what I can do. I will show you, I will turn your I can't, I will never, I won't, it's impossible. I will turn it around and I will show you that I can do anything.
All I want to tell you is that you matter. That's all I want to say. Because you think with how connected we are in society and how we can have a huge spectrum where people think others are more valuable than they are. You think people who are famous are more valuable than you. But guess what? They're not. They're not. Everybody holds something so unique. The DNA that is in your very body will not be replicated the same ever again. You are 100% unique, and this tells me something. This tells me that you have something unique to offer the world. I don't want you to give up. If you have irrational thoughts about suicide, about self-harm, about giving up and leaving this world, do not listen. This may be the depression talking. We were built and we have evolved to survive. And you will survive this day. You will survive tomorrow, next week, next month, and next year. I have no doubt in my mind the strength you hold, because if you have made it this far, and I know you've destroyed barriers, I know you have climbed walls, I know you have broken down stigma because you are still here. I want you to know that you matter. I want you to know you have value. It doesn't matter where you lie on the spectrum, everybody holds the same value. It does not matter what language you speak, the color of your skin, what you wear, what you sound like. You matter to me and you matter to the world, and there are people that love you, and that's why you need to stay here. That's why life is worth fighting for, because you can make a difference. If you make a difference in one person's life throughout your whole lifetime, and you just impact the world positively once, then it's completely worth it. Stay strong. Keep being you. And you will die. We all will. Just not today. Not today.
If we just take a break right now, the people are watching us. If they're like, okay, I'm with you. I need to do something about my sleep. I got to go home and sell my household. Like, what are some of the big things that you must have people come up to you on a regular basis and say, I'm having a problem here and there? What are some basic things that people can do to get a taste of what it's like to get a regular night's sleep? What are some of those things that are just glaringly obvious to you in most people's situations?
Regularity is probably key. If there's one piece of advice I could give, it would be go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time, no matter whether it's the weekend, the weekday. Regularity is king, and of all of those things, it's probably the wake-up time. Try to keep your wake-up time constant. That would be the first piece of advice. The second is, again, comes back to darkness. You know, try to reduce the light that you have in your house in the last hour before bed. You know, dim half the lights. It's not just screens. You know, it's overhead electric light. You don't need all of the lights blazing in the last hour before bed. And they did a great study with this where they asked people, you know, what's your habitual bedtime? And they would say, let's call it 11 p.m. That's when I feel tired and I go to bed. Then they took them on a camping trip up to the Rocky Mountains, and there was no electric gadgetry whatsoever, not even a car light, there was nothing. And they were shrouded in darkness, and they came back to sort of, you know, the natural rhythms of nature. And lo and behold, firstly, they started going to bed and feeling sleepy at 9 p.m. rather than 11 or 11:30. Firstly, they said that they would typically get 6.5 hours of sleep, and that's what they needed. They started to sleep 9 hours. And they gave them almost a 2-week period. So this wasn't just a rebound from their sleep deprivation. They consistently started to sleep 9 hours. And we see this routinely as well. If you unbuckle everyone from everything, connection, family, put them no sort of choice, but just sleep naturally how you wish, they sleep about 9 hours.
Okay. But do you believe in blue blockers and like different frequencies of light as you get?
In terms of the blue light glasses, there was a paper that was published about 14 months ago now, where they use these blue light lenses. Sorry, they use these yellow glasses to block out the blue light. And they found that there was about a 50 to 60% increase in the amount of melatonin that was released in these individuals relative to when they weren't wearing them. And melatonin is a hormone that is released when darkness happens. It's been called the vampire hormone because it kind of comes out at night, or the darkness hormone. And we need melatonin to time the healthy onset of sleep. But when we're bathed in electrical light at night, it slams the brakes on the release of melatonin in our brain. So our brain keeps thinking that it's daytime, even though it's night. And that delay in our melatonin rhythm, it puts us, you know, here in London, it will put us halfway to New York if we read an iPad for an hour before bed. That's the striking delay in melatonin that happens. Using those glasses does actually seem to help. Now, I don't know about particular makes or models and whether the quality control is there. It's a bit of a wild west right now. Right. But certainly I think, you know, there was a study that demonstrated that that was beneficial.
This is a real issue. You need to really dim or darken all of those lights in your house hours before bed. Yeah. Stay off those bright screens.
I think we underestimate that, you know, and you can just think about it for yourself. You know, if you were to go away to like a farmhouse for a, you know, a holiday, and the guy says, the generator is a bit faulty, sometimes it goes out. Maybe the generator goes out at 6 p.m., you've got no electricity, your phone lasts for the last 2 hours, then it's candlelight. My guess is that most people would go to bed significantly earlier. Part of it is because they don't have too much to do and the electronic invasion of technology into the bedroom isn't there anymore. But also, don't fool yourself into thinking that it's not about light. It very much is about light.
I retired from boxing. I really don't know. I want to say something right here. This might make you all think. Life is not really long. Let's say the average person 30 years old. If you're 30 years old, you are not but about 7 years old. How can I prove it? Add up all the 7, 8, 9 hours you slept for 30 years. Out of 30 years, out of all the nights, last night when you went to bed and woke up this morning, you don't remember a thing. You've been unconscious for about 8 years. If you're 30 years old, you slept about 8 years. Okay. How much traveling have you done in 30 years? From the television station to home, to another country, to another city, to school, to church. You've probably traveled 2 years of your life or spent just getting back and forth to where you're going. So there's 8 years of sleeping, 2 years of traveling. There's 30 years out of your life before you accomplish anything. How long do you sit in school? In America, we stay in school from the 12th grade from the 1st grade to 12th grade. Same here?
Yeah, virtually.
6 hours a day?
Yeah.
6 hours a day for 12 years. Break it down. You sat in the classroom for 3 years without leaving. Okay, 2 years of traveling, 8 years of sleeping, 3 years of school. How many movies have you went to? How many wrestling matches? How much entertainment? How many movie theaters, live plays, baseball games? Probably 2 years of entertainment. So by the time a man, you older people know him, bear witness what I'm saying, by the time you have children, by the time you have made a way for your children, by the time you pay for your home, you push your 60 years old. So life is real short. So you add up all your traveling, add up all your sleeping, add up all your school, add up all your entertainment, you've probably been half your life doing nothing. So what am I'm 35 years old, 30 more years I'll be 65. We don't have no more influence. We can't do nothing much at 65. Your wife will tell you that. So what I'm saying, when you're 65, ain't too much more to do. So did you know I'll be 65 in 30 more years? In those 30 years, I have to sleep 9 years. I don't have 30 years of daylight. I have to travel back to America, take 6, 7 miles. All my traveling, and probably 4 years of traveling in the next 30 years.
Inspiring leadership is one of the most watched of all time. When he talks, it is impossible not to listen.
My name is Simon Sinek, and I have a clear vision of what I want to build in this world. I imagine a world in which the vast majority of people wake up every single morning inspired to go to work, feel safe when they're there, and return home fulfilled at the end of the day.
I promise you, our guests will help you acquire the behaviors and thought patterns you need to be successful in anything that you're trying to accomplish.
I have yet to give a speech or have a meeting where somebody doesn't ask me the millennial question.
What's the millennial question?
Apparently millennials as a generation, which is a group of people who were born approximately 1984 and after, are tough to manage. And they're accused of being entitled and narcissistic, self-interested, unfocused, lazy. But entitled is the big one. And because they confound leadership so much, what's happening is leaders are asking the millennials, what do you want? And millennials are saying, we want to work in a place with purpose, love that. We want to make an impact, whatever that means. We want free food and beanbags. And so somebody articulates some sort of purpose, there's lots of free food and there's beanbags, and yet for some reason, they're still not happy. And that's because they're missing. There's a missing piece. What I've learned is that I can break it down into 4 pieces. Right? There are four things, 4 characteristics. One is parenting. The other one is technology. The third is impatience, and the fourth is environment. The generation that we call the millennials, too many of them grew up subject to, not my words, failed parenting strategies, you know, where, for example, they were told that they were special all the time. They were told that they could have anything they want in life, just because they want it, right? They were told, some of them got into honors classes not because they deserved it, but because their parents complained. And some of them got A's not because they earned them, but because the teachers didn't want to deal with the parents. Some kids got participation medals. You got a medal for coming in last, right? Which the science we know is pretty clear, which is it devalues the medal and the reward for those who actually work hard. And it actually makes the person who comes in last feel embarrassed because they know they didn't deserve it. So it actually makes them feel worse, right? So you take this group of people and they graduate school and they get a job and they're thrust into the real world, and in an instant they find out they're not special, their moms can't get them a promotion, that you get nothing for coming in last, and by the way, you can't just have it because you want it, right? And in an instant, their entire self-image is shattered. And so you have an entire generation that's growing up with lower self-esteem than previous generations. The other problem, to compound it, is we're growing up in a Facebook, Instagram world. In other words, we're good at putting filters on things. We're good at showing people that life is amazing even though I'm depressed, right? And so everybody sounds tough, and everybody sounds like they got it all figured out. And the reality is there's very little toughness, and most people don't have it figured out. And so when the more senior people say, well, what should we do? They sound like, this is what you got to do. And they have no clue, right? So you have an entire generation growing up with lower self-esteem than previous generations, right? Through no fault of their own, right? They were dealt a bad hand, right? Now let's add in technology. We know that engagement with social media and our cell phones releases a chemical called dopamine. That's why when you get a text, it feels good, right? So, you know, we've all had it where you're feeling a little bit down or feeling a bit lonely, and so you send out 10 texts to 10 friends, you know, hi, 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 because it feels good when you get a response, right? Right? It's why we count the likes, it's why we go back 10 times to see if my Instagram is growing slower, did I do something wrong? Do they not like me anymore, right? The trauma for young kids to be unfriended, right? Because we know when you get it, you get a hit of dopamine, which feels good. It's why we like it, it's why we keep going back to it. Dopamine is the exact same chemical that makes us feel good when we smoke, when we drink, and when we gamble. In other words, it's highly, highly addictive, right? We have age restrictions on smoking, gambling, and alcohol, and we have no age restrictions on social media and cell phones, which is the equivalent of opening up the liquor cabinet and saying to our teenagers, hey, by the way, this adolescence thing, if it gets you down. But that's basically what's happening. That's basically what's happening, right? That's basically what happened. You have an entire generation that has access to an addictive, numbing chemical called dopamine through social media and cell phones as they're going through the high stress of adolescence. Why is this important? Almost every alcoholic discovered alcohol when they were teenagers. When we're very, very young, the only approval we need is the approval of our parents. And as we go through adolescence, we make this transition where we now need the approval of our peers. Very frustrating for our parents, very important for us. It allows us to acculturate outside of our immediate families into the broader tribe, right? It's a highly, highly stressful and anxious period of our lives, and we're supposed to learn to rely on our friends. Some people, quite by accident, discover alcohol and numbing effects of dopamine to help them cope with the stresses and anxieties of adolescence. Unfortunately, that becomes hardwired in their brains, and for the rest of their lives, when they suffer significant stress, they will not turn to a person, they will turn to the bottle. Social stress, financial stress, career stress, that's pretty much the primary reasons why an alcoholic drinks, right? What's happening is because we're allowing unfettered access to these dopamine-producing devices and media, basically it's becoming hardwired, and what we're seeing is as they grow older, too many kids don't know how to form deep, meaningful relationships. Their words, not mine. They will admit that many of their friendships are superficial. They will admit that their friends, that they don't count on their friends, they don't rely on their friends, they have fun with their friends, but they also know that their friends will cancel on them if something better comes along. Deep, meaningful relationships are not there because they never practice the skill set, and worse, they don't have the coping mechanisms to deal with stress. So when significant stress starts to show up in their lives, they're not turning to a person, they're turning to a device, they're turning to social media, they're turning to these things which offer temporary relief. We know, the science is clear, we know that people who spend more time on Facebook suffer higher rates of depression than people who spend less time on Facebook, right? These things balanced. Alcohol is not bad, too much alcohol is bad. Gambling is fun, too much gambling is dangerous, right? There's nothing wrong with social media and cell phones. It's the imbalance, right? If you're sitting at dinner with your friends and you're texting somebody who's not there, that's a problem. That's an addiction. If you're sitting in a meeting with people you're supposed to be listening to and speaking, and you put your phone on the table, face up or face down, I don't care, that sends a subconscious message to the room that you're just not that important to me right now, right? That's what happens. And the fact that you cannot put it away is because you are addicted, right? If you wake up and you check your phone before you say good morning to your girlfriend, boyfriend, or spouse, you have an addiction. And like all addiction, in time, it'll destroy relationships, it'll cost time, and it'll cost money, and it'll make your life worse, right? So you have a generation growing up with lower self-esteem that doesn't have the coping mechanisms to deal with stress, right? Now you add in the sense of impatience, right? They've grown up in a world of instant gratification. You want to buy something, you go on Amazon, it arrives the next day. You want to watch a movie? Log on and watch a movie. You don't check movie times. You want to watch a TV show? Binge. You don't even have to wait week to week to week, right? I know people who skip seasons just so they can binge at the end of the season, right? Instant gratification. You want to go on a date, you don't even have to learn how to be like, hey. You don't even have to learn and practice that skill. You don't have to be the uncomfortable one who says yes when you mean no and says no when you mean no, but yes when you... You don't have to swipe right. Bang, I'm a stud. Right? You don't have to learn the social coping mechanisms, right? Everything you want, you can have instantaneously. Everything you want, instant gratification. Except job satisfaction and strength of relationships, there ain't no app for that. They are slow, meandering, uncomfortable, messy processes. And so I keep meeting these wonderful, fantastic, idealistic, hardworking, smart kids. They've just graduated school. They're in their entry-level job. I sit down with them and I go, how's it going? They go, I think I'm going to quit. I'm like, why? They're like, I'm not making an impact. I'm like, you've been here 8 months. You know? It's as if they're standing at the foot of a mountain and they have this abstract concept called impact that they want to have in the world, which is the summit. What they don't see is the mountain. I don't care if you go up the mountain quickly or slowly, but there's still a mountain. And so what this young generation needs to learn is patience. That some things that really, really matter, like love, or job fulfillment, joy, love of life, self-confidence, a skill set, any of these things, all of these things take time. Sometimes you can expedite pieces of it, but the overall journey is arduous and long and difficult. And if you don't ask for help and learn that skill set, you will fall off the mountain, or you will, the worst case scenario, and we're already seeing it, the worst case scenario is we're seeing an increase in suicide rates, we're seeing an increase in this generation, we're seeing an increase in accidental deaths due to drug overdoses, we're seeing more and more kids drop out of school or take leaves of absence due to depression. Unheard of. These are all, this is really bad. The best case scenario, those are all bad cases, right? The best case scenario is you'll have an entire population growing up and going through life and just never really finding joy. They'll never really find deep fulfillment in work or in life. They'll just waft through life and it'll be just, it's fine. How's your job? It's fine. The same as yesterday. How's your relationship? It's fine. Like that's the best case scenario. Which leads me to the fourth point, which is environment. Which is we're taking this amazing group of young, fantastic kids who are just dealt a bad hand. It's no fault of their own. And we put them in corporate environments that care more about the numbers than they do about the kids. They care more about the short-term gains than the long-term life of this young human being. We care more about the year than the lifetime, right? And so we are putting them in corporate environments that aren't helping them build their confidence, that aren't helping them learn the skills of cooperation, that aren't helping them overcome the challenges of a digital world and finding more balance, that isn't helping them overcome the need to have instant gratification and teach them the joys and impact and the fulfillment you get from working hard on something for a long time that cannot be done in a month or even in a year. And so we're thrusting to them in corporate environments, and the worst part about it is they think it's them. They blame themselves. They think it's them who can't deal. And so it makes it all worse. It's not. I'm here to tell them it's not them. It's the corporations, it's the corporate environments, it's the total lack of good leadership in our world today that is making them feel the way they do. They were dealt a bad hand, and I hate to say it, but it's the company's responsibility. Sucks to be you, like we have no choice, right? This is what we got, and I wish that society and their parents did a better job. They didn't. So we're getting them in our companies, and we now have to pick up the slack. We have to work extra hard to figure out the ways that we build their competence. We have to work extra hard to find ways to teach them the social skills that they're missing out on. There should be no cell phones in conference rooms. None. Zero. And I don't mean the kind of like sitting outside waiting to text. I mean like when you're sitting and waiting for a meeting to start, this is what we all do. We all sit here and wait for the meeting to start. Meeting starting? Okay. And we start the meeting. No, that's not how relationships are formed. Remember we talked about it's the little things? Relationships are formed this way. We're waiting for a meeting to start and we go, how's your dad? I heard he was in the hospital. Oh, he's really good. Thanks for asking. He's actually at home now. Oh, I'm really glad. It was really amazing. I know, I was really scared for a while. That's how you form relationships. Hey, did you ever get that report done? Oh my God, no, I didn't. I'll help you out. Can I help you out with that? Really? That's how trust forms. Trust doesn't form at an event in a day. Even bad times don't form trust immediately. It's the slow, steady consistency. And we have to create mechanisms where we allow for those little innocuous interactions to happen. But when we allow cell phones in conference rooms, we just, okay, have the meeting. And then my favorite is like when there's a cell phone there and you go like this, you go. It rings and you go. I'm not going to answer that. Mr. Magnanimous, you know? When you're out for dinner with your friends, like I do this with my friends. When we're going out for dinner and we're leaving together, we'll leave our cell phones at home. Who are we calling? Maybe one of us will bring a phone in case we need to call an Uber or take a picture of our meal.
That goes without saying, come on.
I'm an idealist, but I'm not insane. You know?
Not a heathen.
I mean, it looked really good. We'll take one phone. And so it's like an alcoholic. The reason you take the alcohol out of the house is because we cannot trust our willpower. We're just not strong enough. But when you remove the temptation, it actually makes it a lot easier. And so when you just say, don't check your phone, people literally will go like this. And somebody will go to the bathroom, and what's the first thing we do? Because I wouldn't want to look around the restaurant for a minute and a half, you know? But if you don't have the phone, you just kind of enjoy the world. And that's where ideas happen. The constant engagement is not where you have innovation and ideas. Ideas happen when our minds wander and we go, and you see something, I bet they could do that. That's called innovation. Right? But we're taking away all those little moments, right? You should not, and none of us should charge our phones by our beds. We should be charging our phones in the living rooms, right? Remove the temptation. You wake up in the middle of the night because you can't sleep, you won't check your phone, which makes it worse. But if it's in the living room, it's relaxed, it's fine. But it's my alarm clock. Buy an alarm clock. They cost $8, right? I'll buy you an alarm. Right? But the point is we now, in industry, whether we like it or not, we don't get a choice. We now have a responsibility to make up the shortfall and to help this amazing, idealistic, fantastic generation build their confidence, learn patience, learn the social skills, find a better balance between life and technology. Because, quite frankly, it's the right thing to do.
Change the world, start off by making your bed. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made. That you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. To pass SEAL training, there are a series of long swims that must be completed. One is the night swim. Before the swim, the instructors joyfully brief the students on all the species of sharks that inhabit the waters off San Clemente. They assure you, however, that no student has ever been eaten by a shark, at least not that they can remember. But you are also taught that if a shark begins to circle your position, stand your ground. Do not swim away. Do not act afraid. And if the shark, hungry for a midnight snack, darts towards you, then summons up all your strength and punch him in the snout, and he will turn and swim away. There are a lot of sharks in the world. If you hope to complete the swim, you will have to deal with them. So if you want to change the world, don't back down from the sharks. Over a few weeks of difficult training, my SEAL class, which started with 150 men, was down to just 42. There were now 6 boat crews of 7 men each. I was in the boat with the tall guys, but the best boat crew we had was made up of the little guys, the Munchkin crew, we called them. No one was over 5'5".
Monday is by far my favorite day of the week. It's akin to standing at the starting line to a race, where the entire journey, the entire week is ahead of you. You have everything to look forward to. It's all systems go on Monday. Also, I hate Fridays. What keeps you motivated? What keeps me motivated? Well, in short, I'm here. All of my dreams and aspirations are here. And the only thing in between these two is a bunch of work. So tackling that work is a way of moving this needle. That's all the motivation I need. I love progress in any manifestation. Yeah, I've never struggled with motivation. Ever. All right, this is a theory of mine, but I genuinely believe this. I think you can supplement sleep with exercise. What I literally mean by that is, say you sleep 8 hours a night. If you took 2 of those hours and spent them exercising and only slept 6 hours, you would be less tired and in general feel better. It is just a theory though. Let's talk about running. All right, first, big picture. This is what matters, and the body is just there to like keep this thing running, the brain. Big picture. All right, what is freedom? I think I stole this from Bob Dylan, but maybe I stole this from Woody Guthrie. Freedom for me is waking up in the morning and going to sleep at night, and in between doing exactly what I want to do. What's the secret to happiness? The secret to happiness is finding something you love and then doing that for the rest of your life. I stole that from Rushmore. Cameron wants to know, what is your favorite book? My favorite book is the autobiography of Malcolm X. I've read that book like 3 times, twice in a row, and you can pretty much learn everything you need to know about life in that book. The best piece of advice I have for someone trying to succeed in the film industry or any creative space is, if you're doing what everyone else is doing, you're doing it wrong. My friend Andy Spade, who's basically a genius, once said to me that work and family would make a great name for a business, because that's all there is in life, work and family. And I couldn't agree more. If you can figure out work and you can figure out family, you will be happy in life. I've definitely got work figured out. Yes, I'm going to bed at 9 p.m. because when it comes to sleep, don't mess with me. I was trying to say something. When it comes to sleep, how does it go?
The early bird gets the worm.
No, that's not it. It goes, when it comes to sleep, a fool sleeps when he has to, a wise man sleeps when he can. Right?
I like to sleep whenever.
I thrive on the constant stress that is having more things that I need to do than I have time to do them. I always keep a backlog of things that I need to do just in case I have a free moment so I can do that. I never want free time. Free time is the enemy of progress. I hope that doesn't make me sound crazy. Somebody said something mean to me yesterday on Twitter. Here's the thing about being mean. It's a lot easier to be mean than it is to be nice. So mean people, on top of being jerks, they're also lazy and they're uninventive. Being nice takes work. That's why I really like people that are really nice. I want to talk about risk. As a guiding principle, life shrinks and life expands in direct proportion to your willingness to assume risk. Yeah, I've made some really stupid decisions in my career for my entire career. On a broad plane, they've all worked out. Every time I've quit my jobs, which I've done every time I've had a job, people that I trust most, the people that I love, all advised against it. My dad told me not to move to New York City because it was such a risk. And every time I took these bigger risks, the opportunity for a larger payout was always there. Life is like this super temporary, mega fragile thing. You only get like a nugget of time to really pursue the things you care about. And like I'm 30, and my rule is that the right time is always right now. To put a little meat on these bones, this new company that I don't really talk about, This new company is the biggest risk I've ever taken. I took 5 years of my life to build my advertising career, and I made like a lot of money. I've been doing really great. Look at my YouTube channel, go all the way back. The last branded content thing you'll see was in February of 2014. I ditched it all to pursue something I knew nothing about. This huge risk. And I did it at a time when my wife was pregnant and there was all of this vulnerability and all this scariness in my life. And even now at 33, my dad said, 34, my dad said, Casey, that's crazy. You've got a good thing, don't let it go. But I know that like someday I won't be able to do this. I know that the time is now. The right time is always now. So I had to do it. That's how I feel about risk in general. And that's what the struggle has always been for me, is like identifying risk, identifying fear, and then just smashing through it. Because a fear is looking back and wishing that I had done these things. The most dangerous thing you can do in your career, the most dangerous thing you can do in life is play it safe. Adam wants to know, tell me how to succeed as in motivation. I can't tell you that. You have to find your own motivation, can't rely on other people. Andrew wants to know, how do you surround yourself with the right people? That's a great question. I don't know how to surround yourself with the right people. What I do is like eliminate the bad people. If you're somebody that I don't want in my life, get out. How do you not give a shit about what anyone thinks and just do your own thing? That's a two-part answer to a two-part question. The first part about how do you just do your own thing? In life you have two options. You can do your own thing and stand out, or you can do what you're supposed to do, you can do what everyone else does, and you can fit in. There's nothing wrong with fitting in, but you're fitting into cultural or societal norms that were created by other people. Now, in some cases, these norms are great, but in others, they don't make sense. These norms, these rules, were created by someone just like you or someone just like me. I don't know who created these norms. Chances are they weren't anyone smarter than you or me. And if I'm not a fan of the way things are, I just do my own thing because I trust myself and I trust my perspective more so than that of other people. Part 2, how do you not give a shit about what people think of you? I should preface this answer by saying I definitely got made fun of a lot for the way that I look when I was in school, and all those bullies that picked on me are all losers now. So never forget that. People who judge others, especially people who judge others based on things like looks, on whether you're black or white, whether you're Jewish or you're Muslim, whether you are gay or straight, because of their body type, whether they're fat or skinny, whether you have pimples or whether you have a big butt. These judgmental people, their opinions don't matter because they don't matter. Judgmental people are of a lower moral authority than those who don't judge. And we, people who don't judge, we have a responsibility to crush, to destroy those mean, judgmental bullies. And we do that with an overwhelming positivity, and we do that with our extreme open-mindedness. And when you subscribe to those values, you really stop caring what other people think. Because chances are, if other people are judging you, they're wrong. Life is so much better when you have someone to share it with. When you have family to share it with, it's great. When you have friends to share it with, it's amazing. And if you're really, really lucky, if you meet a stranger in your lifetime and decide that you want to share your life with that stranger, that's amazing. That is one of the greatest parts of life. A shared life is a great life. There are two things in life that I think really define who you are as a person, really shape who you are as a person. There's education and there's experience. And when it comes to experience, there's the kind that you pursue, like a trip, or deciding to like kiss that girl for the first time or kiss that boy for the first time. And then there's the kind of experience that just happens to you. Like when I got hit by a car and broke my leg. And those experiences, they have a huge impact on who you are, and they affect who you are for the rest of your life. Harry wants to know, do you learn more from success or failure? You want to take a stab at this?
Yeah, I'd say I think I learn more from failure. I guess all of us have this need or want to succeed in some way, but when you fail at something, especially when it's like a dramatic fail, you really makes you stop and take count and think like, why did I fail? Like, how can I avoid this?
I think that it's always the toughest times in your life that define who you are, much more so than the easiest times or the best times. So failures are typically some of the hardest times of your life. So when I look back and I see all sort of the pivotal moments in my life, it was always the struggle. It was always the failure that motivated me, not the like loveliness of success. What's the best advice you would give to someone who's worried about their future, what to do after school? My advice is always the same, which is keep yourself extremely busy. As long as you're doing something, you will find your path. It's when you get lazy that everything becomes skewed, everything becomes gray or foggy.
It's easier to, yeah, on the back of that, it's easier to steer something that's already moving. If you're just static and stationary, it's so hard to build momentum. So.
You're a poet, Lou.
Yeah.
I have my Snapchat set so anybody can send me snaps, like people I don't know, strangers and stuff. And the snap that I get the most are from people and it just says bored. Or it's like a selfie of them and they're like bored, nothing to do. How are there this many people that have all this time and no way to occupy it? You could build a city with all the free time that people spend sitting around being bored, sending me snaps of themselves sitting around being bored. Seneca said, it's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Thank you, Ryan, for turning me on to that quote. And that pretty much sums it up. Right now it's go time for me. I want to maximize every waking second. I'm never going to get any younger, but right now I'm completely healthy, I'm full of energy, and who knows how long this will last. I doubt it's going to be like that when I'm 50 or 60 years old, so I want to do it now. With that, I wanted to share a little bit of my thinking behind that, like a little bit of the logic and then the mechanics behind maximizing, or my consideration for really maximizing every day. And I know that this is crazy person talk, but the truth is, the only time I really get bummed out or depressed is when I'm not being productive, is when I'm not accomplishing or doing or contributing in any way. Nothing makes me less happy than relaxation and sitting around with nothing to do. And why I'm so emphatic about all of this is that I think life is substantiated by whatever impact or whatever contribution you can make while you're alive. The finish line's the same for everyone. We're all ending up in the same place, but while we're here, what contribution can you make? Work and building things and making things and doing things and spending time with your family, those are the ways that I feel I'm contributing, that I'm accomplishing something. So why wouldn't I want to maximize my time as efficiently as possible to be as effective as I can with that? And that is why I say free time is the enemy of progress, because free time sitting around is not doing. And that's why I try to omit that entirely from my life. This idea is more of a fundamental, it's more of a principle. It's one of like my guiding rules in life. And I want to address it on this vlog because a lot of people in the comments below, and whenever I do Q&As, a lot of people ask me about what they should do when they're sort of at any kind of fork in the road, any sort of crossroads in life, and they need to make a decision. What should they do? And this is like big life decisions, not like what should I have for lunch today. In life, you should only ever be doing one of two things, and that is figuring out what you're most passionate about, like finding your dreams in life, and then two, realizing those passions, realizing those dreams. And the first one is much harder than the second one. If you know what you want to do, no big deal. You just commit your entire life to doing it, and you'll either get really close or you'll die trying. But figuring out what it is that excites you, what it is that you're most passionate about in life is really, really tricky. So how I approach it, and this is how I've always approached it. This is how I approached it when I was on welfare, when I was 17 years old. This is how I approached it when I was washing dishes, when I was 20. This is how I've approached my entire life. And that is to absolutely fixate on what it is that I want to be doing all day long, every day. Like, what am I doing right now? Is this exactly where I want to be? And by always checking with myself, always checking in, like always hitting that reset button, I can always be really confident in my actions because I know that my ambition is true. It's like that platitude, without a goal you can't score. I really believe in that because if you can't see like the goalposts, how do you know which way to kick the ball? Now, this is by no means a shortcut or a way to make life easier. Every time I've sort of made a big decision on what I wanted to do in life, or I've discovered a passion, it's been then like years of pain and years of struggle to realize or to even get myself on the course to realize that. When I first discovered filmmaking and I was like, this is all I want in life, I was 17 years old. I was on welfare. It took me a decade before I figured out how to make a living at it. When I decided that I didn't want to date anymore, I didn't want to be single, that I was unhappy, I wanted a family. It took me years to talk Candace into marrying me, and then actually us getting married, and then having a baby. So realizing it takes time, and realizing it requires commitment, but it's that first step, that first decision point that enables you to sort of realize the ambition, or at least begin the process to realize that ambition. This is something I do every day, even now. I'm 34 years old, I feel like I've come really far in life, but I want to go much further, and I'm constantly reevaluating my decisions and what I'm doing to make sure I'm on the path that I want to be on. You know, do I want to live in New York City forever? I don't know. I love this town, but the idea of raising children here scares the crap out of me. So that's something I'm constantly thinking about. So anyways, that's it. It's a pretty simple idea. It's something that I believe in to the point of it being like religion. I am always fixated on what am I doing and what do I want to be doing. And then that guides me. That is like that is the lighthouse that I follow through the darkness. So what do I want to be doing right now? Right now I want to be doing two things. Number one, sharing my ideas and sharing my perspectives and making these little creations that I plop on YouTube every day. And number two is my new company. And I know I haven't gotten into it yet, but the ambition behind that company is to build something that can empower, that can affect everyone on planet Earth, that can affect the whole world. I realize that sounds lofty and ambitious, but your grasp should always be just outside your reach. What's the point in having ambitions if they aren't seemingly unattainable? Why does Owen work in a donut shop? Why don't you get him a cool job? Okay, let me spend a little bit of time picking this one apart. So my son Owen has his first job right now, and he works at a Krispy Kreme donut place at the cash register selling people donuts, which is a tough job. And yes, I could make a phone call and I could get him some cushy, easy, fun, cool job at like a production company doing something totally awesome. But I'm his father, and I try to do what's best for him at all times. And what's not good for a kid to have as his first job is something cushy and cool. Beyond learning the value of $1 and beyond learning what the suck means of working in a place like that, he will forever, for the rest of his life, no matter how successful or rich or famous he might become, he will forever treat people that work behind a counter with the level of respect that they deserve, because he will appreciate and understand how hard that job is. That's one of the reasons. The bigger reason, 2 days ago or 3 days ago, I did a whole vlog about sort of life's principles and what it means to always fixate on what do you want from life and then figure out how to execute that. And a lot of people asked, a lot of people replied with, what's the best way to find your passion? What's the best way to find your calling in life? And I have an answer to that, and I don't know that this answer is right, but this is an answer I firmly believe in. The best way to find what you love in life is by doing something you hate. A cushy job, a cool job, a job that you like is comfortable. That comfort breeds complacency, and that complacency breeds stagnation. So you just kind of stay there because it's a fine job, even though it may not be your dream or your passion. And then all kinds of shit happens. She gets pregnant, you buy a car, there's a mortgage payment, you have a house, you have this cushy life, and before you know it, you have these handcuffs, these golden handcuffs that is your day job, that you didn't love, you never loved. It was just an easy job, but now there's no way out of it. And all of that happens by doing something that's cushy and easy. If you get a job that absolutely sucks, something you hate doing, you will spend every minute on the clock fixating and fantasizing about what you wish you were doing. Where did I find my passion for filmmaking and my drive to do what I do in life? I found it in the bottom of the nastiest, burnt up clam chowder pot ever, working in a shitty seafood restaurant where I'd have to dig so deep into that pot to scrub the bottom that it would get all over my arms and all over my shirt. And I just reeked of stale seafood and it never came off my body. But doing that for years, 50 hours a week, every week for like 5 years, really galvanized for me what I wished I could be doing. I fantasized about having a job that I loved, about doing something I was super passionate about working for myself and not having some asshole boss telling me what to do all the time. I obsessed over it. But if I had been in some cushy, some sweet, some fun job that my dad got for me, none of that drive would have been there. So yeah, Owen works in a donut store. And what he will get from working in a donut shop, what he will get from a shitty job is invaluable. And he might not appreciate that, and whoever wrote me that comment might not appreciate that, but believe me, at some point in his life, he will look back and he will see that that was one of the most influential jobs he could have ever had. I hope. Otherwise, he'll hate me forever for making him work in a donut store. Let's chat a little about complainers. Generally, a complainer is a person who doesn't take responsibility for their own action. A complainer is someone who would always talk about why they failed instead of how to succeed. Now, there's one simple reason why it's never ever okay to complain, and that is there's always someone that has it worse than you do. Let me give that a little context. So when I think about some of the things in my life that I'd want to complain about, some of the really hard things, and then I give them any sort of real world context, they aren't that consequential. Let me get really specific. When I was 16 years old and I had to drop out of high school to get a terrible job to support my new baby, that was pretty rough. You know, that is a big enough excuse for me to justify any actions I take in my life. I know, but I couldn't do this because. To embrace that as an excuse to complain. But the truth is that's not so bad. Dropping out of high school, like really not having much of a place to live, having no money, having a baby, being on welfare, like all those things really suck. But in the grand scheme of humanity, it's not that bad. Bear with me. I turn on my computer, I go to a news site, and the first story I read is about migrants from Myanmar that are stuck on a boat, stranded, because the Thai government won't let them into port. These are people just like you and me, and they're literally starving to death, and this is right now. I don't mean to be so extreme, but these are the things that I remind myself of anytime I want to complain or bitch about something in my life. You realize that there are people just like you and me who at this very moment are truly facing things we're lucky enough to go our entire lives without ever having to experience. Okay, let me tell one more story to back this up. One more story where like my feelings around complaining and life in general were really set straight. 3 years ago I did this project, led like a very small relief mission to the Philippines after they had been devastated by Typhoon Haiyan. This is some of the video here. That was somebody's home. People didn't have water, people didn't have food. You know, these people had nothing. Their livelihoods, their life, their existence had totally been stripped away from them. And what struck me the most about the entire experience, all of my time there, was not once did anyone complain. But they had lost everything, and they didn't complain. And they all focused on one thing. They focused on change, not complaining. And because of that, I do take it personally when people complain, because the truth is, most of the time, people who complain have nothing to complain about. Who cares if I went to a meeting that doesn't start till tomorrow, and who cares if some guy locked up my bike brake cable? It really doesn't matter. Do you think it's better to plan out your future all the way through, or just play it by ear and see what happens? I apologize if I've said this in the vlog before, I can't remember. And this also isn't my original idea. Someone else told this to me, but it's great. It was a great piece of advice that I'm happy to share. I believe in something called the Tarzan method. And what that means is, you are Tarzan, me Tarzan, starting on this side of the jungle, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, they're the other side of the jungle. And there's no straight line through the jungle. You know what, let me do an animation for you here. The Tarzan method. What that means is, you're Tarzan, you're here, and you want to get to the other side of the jungle here. Ideally, there's this straight line. But what you find in life, what I've found in life, this is non-existent. This straight line here is a unicorn. It doesn't exist. Instead, you reach and you grab onto whatever vine you can grab onto and you swing. And that vine might carry you in this direction, which doesn't feel like the right direction of your goal. But it does get you a little bit closer. And then you grab onto another vine, it swings you all the way over here, a little bit closer. And then you swing in this direction, and then this direction, and 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 eventually you make it to where you want to be. But the beauty of the Tarzan method, the kind of the magic of being open-minded in your pursuit, is that like these unknowns, like where it might take you that you didn't imagine, that's usually where you find something that is actually what your goals are. I don't believe that there is a straight line between where you are and where you want to be in life ever. Not with family, not with romantic interests, and especially not with your career. So an open-mindedness, even if it looks like this, will yield results and outcomes that otherwise would have been unforeseeable. Nicole asks, how do you get yourself out of a rut? Work. Work is the answer to a lot of problems. It cures depression, heartbreak, all those things. You just, when you're in a bad place, I bury myself with work. The progress and the physical activity and the brain distraction, it like breaks me out of anything. I like this question. Bosco wants to know, divide into percentage these factors to reach success. Natural talent, luck, and determination. Natural talent is highly overrated. It's determination, 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 and then like luck and all that other education and all that. It's like, it's not even in the same pie chart. Carlos asks, what makes you proud of yourself? Okay, that's a weird way to phrase it, but how I have confidence in who I am and the decisions I make is that I have this moral compass in life, and it is like, it is a summation or an amalgam of everything that I believe in, and everything that I think is right and fair and just. And every decision that I make, personal, private, business, every decision that I make is made through the looking glass, through the perspective of my moral compass, of what I believe is right and what I believe is wrong. And if it's wrong, I don't make that decision. I only make decisions that I believe in. In the aggregate of that, you do that over enough time, and it gives you a sense of pride. It gives you a sense of confidence in what you've done in life. Eli wants to know, how has vlogging helped you as a filmmaker? Anyone that works in any creative field knows that when there's no impetus to create, it's very hard to make something. Meaning like, without a deadline, it's hard to actually finish. Like that awesome platitude that I love to preach, without a goal, you can't score. So how vlogging has helped me as a filmmaker, it's forced me to make a new movie every day. And by doing that, my skills have improved, my editing has improved, my confidence in my editing has improved. Everything's been moved forward because of this vlog, because of this like self-imposed daily deadline. Carlos, what's the meaning of life? Carlos, existentialism is a very dangerous thing. Ignore it, get back to work. That was the first step in a very long process. I can't underscore enough that it's never any one thing that takes you where you want to be. What's it like to be your own boss? You know, the last time I had a boss, I was 21 years old. So I've worked for myself almost my entire adult life. I don't know that I could function in any other environment. I don't do well when I have someone questioning my judgment, and I don't do well when I have to trust the judgment of someone else simply because they're my superior. I don't do well in that environment. You know, I just rewatched this amazing Steve Jobs quote from like 1996.
So the thing I would say is, When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is.
And your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.
All right, Casey, what is your favorite quote?
Okay, it's in the foreword to a book called Herzog on Herzog. And the quote is something like, don't quote me on this, it's something like, never have a plan B. People with a plan B will invariably fall back on it. That's why they have it in the first place. It's a good one, right?
It's a good quote. Do you get bored?
No. And the reason why I don't get bored is because there's always a list, whether it's like in my head or literally on paper, I'm sure you're the same way, of things that need to be done. So anytime there's like free time that would be occupied by boredom, you just have, there's stuff to do, there's work to do. Do you ever get bored?
I do, but it's my own fault. If I'm bored, I gotta change it up.
Yeah,
So
change it
that's when I
up.
know that it's time to change.
What do you enjoy most about work? For me, work is about being productive. It's about doing something. That sense of accomplishment or that sense of productivity is what I enjoy most about work. And to me, like, work and life are one and the same. So all of those values hold true when thinking about life in general. How do you manage being so optimistic about everything? What's the alternative? To be negative or cynical? There's more than enough negativity in this world. And negativity doesn't feel good. Negativity is just easy. So if you put in the time to work hard at being positive and being optimistic, it's a much better life. But it does take more work. Negative people are typically lazy people.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is. Your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. That's a very limited life.
Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice.
Everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll never be the same again.
When you have a dream, it doesn't often come at you screaming in your face. Dreams always come from behind you, not right between your eyes. It sneaks up on you. Sometimes a dream almost whispers, very hard to hear. So you have to, every day of your lives, be ready to hear what whispers in your ear. It very rarely shouts.
Make sure that you are focused on something you're passionate about. You can't follow the fashion when you're trying to do a startup company, or I think really anything in life. As an entrepreneur, if you're gonna build a company, pick something you think is interesting, and then just stay right there and let the wave catch you.
I think it's important that you really like whatever you're doing. If you don't like it, life is too short.
If you like what you're doing, you think about it even when you're not working. It's something that your mind is drawn to. And if you don't like it, you just really can't make it work, I think.
I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle.
The only thing you really have in your life is time. If you invest that time in yourself to have great experiences that are going to enrich you, then you can't possibly lose.
I don't know how you can make any pioneering movements in the world. Whatever it is that you want to do, there's going to be risk in your life. And if I fail, am I going to regret having tried and failed? And I knew the answer to that was no. But I also knew that if I didn't try, that I would always regret that. I would always wonder, and it would haunt me.
Now is the time to take risk. As you get older, your obligations increase. And once you have a family, you start taking risk not just for yourself, but for your family as well. It gets much harder to do things that might not work out. So I would encourage you to take risks now, do something bold.
So I always advise people, don't wait. Do something when you're young, when you have nothing to lose, and keep that in mind.
And then just work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in, 80 to 100 hour weeks every week.
How will you use your gifts? What choices will you make? Will inertia be your guide, or will you follow your passions? Will you follow dogma, or will you be original? Will you choose a life of ease, or a life of service and adventure? Will you wilt under criticism, or will you follow your convictions? When it's tough, will you give up, or will you be relentless? Will you be a cynic, or will you be a builder? In the end, we are our choices.
And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. Thank you for coming. We're going to make some history together today.
When you're working on a dream, at some point in time, a transition takes place. And the transition is what you are becoming in pursuit of the dream. Because even if you don't get the dream, you become such a strong and powerful person, it will so change your life, you can look at something else and say, well, I think I'll go do this then. Because you have now developed yourself in such confidence and such competence in how to deal in the arena of life that you can move into another area and not miss a beat. Once you begin to discover who you are, then you really realize how you have been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth, including all the dimensions of your life. But you can only do that through the struggle of life. And most people avoid the struggle. Most people go through life avoiding pain. And when you go through life like that, something in you dies. Something in you that you never activate is lying dormant in there, that you never get a chance to call on because you have not challenged yourself. Somebody said the land of familiarity belongs to the dead. That most people like to feel like they're a king in the area of their comfort zone. They only want to do those things that they know how to do well. Osborne said, unless you attempt to do something beyond that which you've already mastered, you will never grow. So if you want to begin to grow, you've got to put something out here that you can't reach easily, that has got to make you stretch, got to make you jump for it, got to make you get back a little bit and dig in so that you can take a leap for it. And maybe you jump up there and you miss it and you skin your knees and you come back again and you bust your lip next time. But you keep on, and through that process, you learn how to leap higher. You start challenging yourself to dig deeper, and then you discover some things about you that you don't know right now. Some talents that you have in you that you didn't know that you can do. I started out just talking to kids, and now I'm speaking at corporations. Now I'm traveling. I didn't know I can do this, but had I not given myself a chance, and I'm saying to you, give yourself a chance to make a shortcut to get to my goal. I want to be able to look myself in the mirror, and that's what you want to do. There's no saying, judge a man not by what he does, but by that he doesn't have to do. And to judge the true quality of a man is what do you do when nobody's looking. See, there's some good out there for you in the universe that has your name on it, and nobody can get your good. It has your name on it. They can't take your stuff. It's your stuff. So when you know that, when you know that whatever you're seeking, it's also seeking you, you don't worry. You don't run scared. You don't think somebody's going to take it from you. You listen to your inner voice, and you always take the high road. There will be the tendency, the natural inclination to take the low road. You must resist that. Here's something else I encourage you to do if you want to make it today. Keep your agreements. Keep your agreements that you make, and establish a network of people who will also do that. Establish a network of people in your life that you can count on, that will be there for you when you need them, and you be there for them. Leave the flakes alone, people that are seriously not serious. And if you're surrounded by flakes, that tells you who you are. Here's something else. 3 P's to have in your life. In working on your dream and doing your life work, you must be patient, persistent, and positive no matter what. Be positive no matter what, because when you are negative, ladies and gentlemen, you're sending out negative energy and you're blocking your good. So don't send out any negative energy. Don't take it personal. See, a lot of people have an idea or a dream and they give up on it. No, don't do that. Work your dream until it gets hot. See, most things don't happen as soon as we think they should happen. The messenger of misery might drop in on you and say hello. Murphy's Law might come by and thump you on the head. Any number of things can happen to interrupt your flow. It's okay. Don't take it personal. Just acknowledge what's going on. It's called life. And keep on working on your dream. Continue to keep on knocking, because this is your life. This is what you love. This is your passion. Step back. Don't judge it. If you judge it, judge not yet, lest ye be judged. Why? Because when you judge it, you invest emotion in it, and that emotion could be anger, and guess what? That hurts you. That doesn't hurt anybody else. So what do you want to take yourself out early for by internalizing things? Shakespeare said, nothing is neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. So judge not according to appearances, but right judgment, and feel that everything is going to work out for you, because you're patient, you're persistent, and you're going to be positive no matter what. Don't allow other things or people or circumstances to determine what your reaction is going to be. So don't allow people to determine how you are going to respond to them or circumstances. Learn to look at it. Look at your life right now. If you want to keep on getting what you're getting, keep on doing what you're doing. You've got to be willing to change your ways. Your life is working. If you don't like what you have produced, you're a director, you are the star, you wrote this script. You produced this, whatever it is. If it's a hit, you produced it. If it's a flop, you produced it. Take ownership of it and decide to go back to the drawing board and rewrite the script that you are the star of. You have the power to do that. On this day, you can declare that I'm going to change. As you look back on your life, you can decide that I don't like what I produced here, and I want higher ground. I want to begin to experience more love. I want to have more adventure in my life. I want something that gives my life a sense of meaning. I believe, ladies and gentlemen, if we can accept the possibility of that this is the decade of consciousness. That's what I believe that this is. The decade of consciousness, if you please. A time where we can begin to create in folks' minds the idea, the possibility that we can create a more humane society, the possibility that we can create more love, communication, and understanding in relationships, the possibility that we can create a drug-free America, the possibility that we can create the kind of respect for diversity and difference in our multicultural society, the possibility that we can begin to develop the mindset to bring out the best in people, to encourage them to achieve their greatness and support them in their dreams, that if we can, in this decade of consciousness, to begin to see and envision that happening, and that we all can play a role, that we were born for such a time as this, that we showed up for this, that we survived 1 out of 9 million sperms, and we've been chosen for this great work. What an exciting time to be alive.
If you live long enough, a lot of stuff will come against you. And you gotta throw what you got at it. You can't throw what you wish you had. You can't throw what your neighbor had. You gotta throw what you got at it. Don't tell me that you want something if you're not willing to throw what you got at it. You got to have inner strength for this fight. It's not your outer strength. It's not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit. So you got to have that inner strength, that gut strength, that belly strength, that devil-defying come hell or high water strength, that tenacity to take a licking and keep on ticking, that inner strength that when I can't do as I would, I'm going to do as I can, but I'm not going to stop doing to the best of my ability.
You are excellent. Now stop playing small. You are excellent. Stop playing small. You are excellent. Stop taking the hand that they dealt you. Take ownership. If you can get all A's in the class, do it. You don't need nobody to give you $50, $100, no pair of shoes, take you on no trip. You a grown man. Do it because you can. Stop needing a carrot. Stop needing money. Stop needing a trip. Stop needing somebody to give you a sticker on your head, and do it for the pride of who you are. Do it because you can. I don't care what your friends are doing. When you leave, what you fighting for? What's your legacy? What you gonna do? You say you a champ, but do you practice like a champ? You say you a champ, do you fight like a champ? You say you a champ, do you have the mentality of a champ? I want you to go to the next level and not just be a champ, but show the world what a champion looks like.
The powers that we have will never reveal themselves if we don't challenge them. If we don't put ourselves in a position where we have to use them. Put yourself in a position where you can't retreat. Where it's do or die, sink or swim. Here's what you'll find out. You'll develop incredible swimming skills. You'll find yourself stroking unlike you've ever seen before. Through the inspiration of desperation, you'll become more creative than ever before. And if we're honest this evening, we know that we haven't done all we can do. So as we look at the future, we can decide that from this day forward, as I look at all the dimensions of my life, looking at myself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I'm going to do all I can do to develop me, to bring my talent out here,